Good morning and welcome to worship for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Charlotte. My name is Jay Leach and I am utterly delighted this morning to be able to say once again in a meaningful way, one of the ministers of our community. In what now seems like a very, very long time ago, in a service at the end of February, when we were still meeting in our sanctuary, we blessed my colleague, our minister, Eve Stevens, as she departed on her family leave. Eve, many of you will recall, was very pregnant at that time. And we blessed her as she left us for an extended family leave. As the chief of staff of our community, I want to thank you for your care for our staff, for providing this kind of benefit for families, for Eve and her family to have this opportunity to bond together, not simply trying to meet some minimal standard, but a generous benefit that provided Eve with this time. Eve, I have missed you. And this is one time when I think I am safe in speaking for the entire community in saying, we have missed you. We face the days ahead, days that are filled with opportunity and with challenge. And I am delighted that you are back with us to provide your perspective and your leadership to us. Eve, we have awaited this day with excitement. Welcome, welcome back.
Thank you, Jay, for that warm welcome back into the fray. I am delighted to be back, and I have been watching from afar as Jay and my other colleagues on staff have been learning how to create new programming and ways of doing worship in this time of social distancing from one another. And as usual, I'm amazed and inspired by what you all have come up with. I've also really enjoyed members and friends watching the conversations you have on Facebook and seeing the offerings you give to one another as a way of support and staying connected as a community, the yoga sessions, the virtual tours of your gardens. It's made me reflect on how fortunate I am to have found such a warm and caring community to be a part of. And I also want to thank you for the generous gift you have given to my family these past 10 weeks, especially in this time of uncertainty and loss. It has been a wonderful experience to be able to snuggle and bond and sleep during the day, holding baby Henry, the newest addition to our family, and also having the opportunity in this strange time to bond as a family of four and kind of find our grounding together in this new chapter of our life. And none of it would have been possible without your generosity, and I am truly thankful. It is quite a fitting Sunday for me to return, this being Mother's Day Sunday. Nechung Rinpoche, a Tibetan Buddhist abbot, provides a different way of thinking about mothering for us to consider on this Mother's Day. Rinpoche once gave a Dharma talk in which he explained the Buddhist understanding that each of us has been continually passing through incarnation after incarnation, inhabiting one life and then another, since the beginning of time. Rinpoche suggests that because this cycling through life after life has gone on for so long, we have in fact experienced every possible relationship combination, which means that at some point in that vast stretch of time, you have been the mother of every other person in existence. Though you cannot recall it, you once fed and clothed and rocked to sleep the person who used to cut your hair, the person whose eyes smile at you above their mask in the grocery store, the person without a home standing in the rain, the person whose obituary you recently read. Once, though you cannot remember, you were mother to them all. There was a time when you worried over each of them, cleaned their scrapes, kissed their bruises, a time when you disappointed them, a time when you cooked their favorite meal, a time when you loved them. Rinpoche concludes his talk by saying, every person you come across, try to think always what you would do if you remembered, even just for a moment, that once you were their mother. And I invite you to keep this compassionate discipline in mind as you revel on the public Facebook page, greeting one another and wishing one another well. Welcome all.
Good morning. I'm Rebecca Ransom.
And I'm Sarah Brady.
I'm Emmeline.
I'm Violet.
I'm Felicity.
I'm Benjamin.
We light this chalice flame, symbol of a Unitarian Universalist faith.
Gratitude for the people who have mothered movements for justice, brought walks out to life, and nurtured communities.
On this day, we give thanks for all the people who love us when we fall down as much as when we thrive.
Generations after generations, it is through the loving effort that hope and new possibilities are born.
Greetings from my mother's kitchen, where I've spent a decent amount of time while physical distancing here with 2 young kids. Fun fact, did you know that you are not supposed to eat an almond off a tree should you be walking in the wild somewhere and find a wild almond tree? That is because the almonds that we eat, that you love to snack on, that our almond milk comes from, all of those have been carefully cultivated in orchards. I wonder what almond tree farms are called. However, the product of a wild almond tree is called a bitter almond. Now, bitter almonds are also very nutritious. They've got protein, they've got the fiber, they've got good old vitamin E, which helps protect our cells from damage. But the main difference between a cultivated almond and a wild almond is that the bitter or wild almonds also contain a decent amount of cyanide, which, yes, is the toxin of choice of spies when their missions go awry, not what you want to have in your trail mix. However, if you heat bitter almonds, the cyanide dissipates and they become safe to eat. There's real nutrients to be had, real nourishment, but you have to put in a little work to get rid of the toxins first. And you may be wondering at this point if the sleep deprivation is getting to me and I've finally succumbed to it. In part, yes, that is what's going on. But I also, in my sleep-deprived brain, thought of this as a great living, active metaphor for our collective social conceptions of mothering and motherhood. Because for a long time, we've received unhealthy and mixed messages about mothering. You probably have heard these toxic myths that dominant culture teaches, such as the myth that women find true fulfillment only through having children, or that the worth of a woman corresponds directly to her degree of ability or desire to have children. Dominant culture also, of course, has taught that women are better equipped, more skilled at caring for children, which has led to too many mothers taking on more of than their fair share of childcare in society. And another way toxins find themselves embedded in our concepts of motherhood is that if you look at our media and the kind of content that has to do with mothering and the images we constantly see, they're almost always of white, straight, cisgender, financially secure mothers, as if to say these are the only ones worth acknowledging or knowing about. So there's a fair amount of toxic content in the way dominant culture markets motherhood and mothering. So it's understandable if you cringed a little bit thinking, oh no, is she gonna preach about mothering on Mother's Day Sunday? But here's where the almonds come in. If we add a little heat and break down these toxic notions under more intense questioning, we're left with the essence of what it means to mother, the nourishing elements of motherhood that sustain life and do us good collectively and individually. When we burn off the toxic expectations and falsehoods, then we find that mothering simply means feeling responsible for the well-being of others. It means witnessing the worth and beauty of others. To mother is to see the pain in another and feel that pain in your own body. Mothering is making choices that benefit those who will outlive you. Mothering is actually bold, tenacious work essential for claiming our shared humanity. In no way is it the role of one member of a family, and no way should women do this work alone, at home, in the workplace, or in community. And now, away from my mother's kitchen and back to my dear colleague, Jay, who's going to share a few words honoring a beloved member of our congregation who has done definitely her fair share, probably more, of providing a very nourishing model of what it means to mother in community.
It's my honor to include in this morning's service an understated celebration of the sort that we are having to create in these times. Had we been able to stick with our plans for this day, our children's choir would have gathered before us in the sanctuary and sung for the final time under the leadership of our children's choir director, Donna Fisher. Donna announced to us earlier this year her intent to retire at the end of this congregational year from a role that she has had now for over a decade. As our children know, as our families know, as many of us have experienced, when we gather our children in our community and we light a chalice, we teach them from a very young age to say, ours is the church of the open mind. Ours is the church of the loving heart. Ours is the church of the helping hands. The children who have sung in our children's choir under Donna Fisher's leadership have had a weekly living example of what we mean when we make those claims. One had only to glance into the sanctuary or into the priestly room where Donna was working with our children to feel the palpable sense of love that Donna has for each of our children and that our children have for Donna. She has been a consistently loving, welcoming, accepting, encouraging presence in the lives of so many of our children. Those of us who are parents in our congregation and who have entrusted our children into Donna's leadership have reaped such a generous benefit from that experience. They have experienced love from Donna Fisher. But what Donna Fisher offers to our children and to our community is more than just love. Donna exemplifies our commitment to having an open mind. Donna is curious. Donna is continually growing. Donna participated in our racial justice core group and wrestled with such impressive integrity with the challenges of that time and has translated her commitment into a role as a teacher in the Mecklenburg County Jail. An act of extending her helping hands out into this community. Donna, as many of us know, is a remarkably gifted artist. She brings the eye of beauty to her art, and that same eye of beauty she has brought to her role as our children's choir director. Many of us know that ancient Trinity, the one we can believe in, that speaks of the good, the true, and the beautiful. Donna Fisher, for our children and for all of us, this has been who you have been, someone true and good and beautiful. From the bottom of my heart as a parent, and from the bottom of our hearts as your spiritual community, our deepest thanks for all that you have offered to our children and to our families over these many years. Donna Fisher, you are a gift to all of us, one we receive with deep, deep gratitude. Thank you.
Hi, spiritual family and friends. It has been my privilege for these past 15, 16 years to have directed the children's choir at the Unitarian Universalist community of Charlotte. And it truly has been a vocation as well as an avocation. As this excerpt in my life comes to a close, I'm struck by how symbiotic the relationships have been. Congregation, you have supported the choir with your presence, your exuberant acceptance, your sincere words of praise to the kids. Parents, you have brought your children here every Sunday, sometimes at 8:30 even. You've assisted during rehearsal. You figured out how to navigate their singing at 2 services. You've helped them practice at home. Yeah, I loved your children like my own. And they treated me as if I were their own. I've learned so much about parenting, things that I wish I'd understood when I raised my own family. So what you have allowed me to do by entrusting your children to me is make up for some of the mistakes I made with my own children. So Kira and Amos, I hope you're listening. To the children, the youth, the young adults who have been in the choir, everything you have ever said, done, or sung in my presence has been incorporated into who I am, and I'm all the better for it. You brought me more joy in 30-minute sessions than I could ever hope to have in a lifetime. You will always be my children. So one thing I've learned, and I'd like to pass that on to all of you, is that if we meet children where they are, we will rise to their level. I want to end with a part of a poem from Sarah Teasdale called Barter. It expresses better than I can what this job has meant to me. Life has loveliness to sell, all beautiful and splendid things, blue waves whitened on a cliff, soaring fire that sways and sings, and children's faces looking up, holding wonder like a cup. Would you sing with me? How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Open my eyes that I may see glimpses of truth that not dying. I am dancing, dancing along in the madness. There is no sadness, only a song of a soul. And we'll sing this song. Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a What do you do for your living? Are you forgiving, giving shelter? Follow your heart, love will find you, truth will unbind you. Sing out a song of the soul. Sing this song. Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Come to your life like a warrior, nothing will bore ya. You can be happy. Let in the light, it will heal you, and you can feel you. Sing out a song of a soul, and we'll sing this song. Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long
Neshung Rinpoche teaches that somewhere in the endless cycle of life, death, and rebirth, you, at one time or another, have been the mother of everyone else. Therefore, he advises that for every person we come across, we should ask ourselves, what would we do if we remembered that once they were our child, once we were their mother? Too often, we have left the work of mothering to too few members of our families, communities, and society. In her essay, In Search of Our Mother's Gardens, Alice Walker writes that Black women in particular have been handed the burdens that everyone else refused to carry. Caring for other people's children and homes for long hours on top of caring for their own. Walker writes that this has caused an unconscionable, horrifying loss of the creative work of generations of Black women from slavery on. In this piece, Walker searches longingly for evidence of her own mother's creative spark. Walker writes, "My mother made all the clothes we wore, even my brother's overalls. She made all the towels and sheets we used. She spent the summers canning fruits and vegetables. She spent the winter evenings making quilts enough to cover all our beds." She continues, "But when, you will ask, did my overworked mother have time to know or care about feeding the creative spirit?" Well, Walker writes, "No song or poem will bear my mother's name. The artist that was and is my mother showed itself to me only after many years. My mother planted ambitious gardens. This was her artistry, with over 50 different varieties of plants." It's here that Alice Walker recognizes just how profound her mother's creativity turns out to be. Walker writes, "I notice that it is only when my mother is working in her flowers that she is radiant. She is involved in work her soul must have, ordering the universe in the image of her personal conception of beauty. Her face as she prepares the art that is her gift is a legacy of respect she leaves to me for all that illuminates and cherishes life. She leaves to me the legacy of respect for all that illuminates and cherishes life." Mothering is a way of life few human beings master in a lifetime, a way of being in the world that lays claim to our shared humanity. When we embrace our responsibility for the well-being of others and witness their beauty and their worth, we are mothering. When we see pain in another and feel their pain in our own body, we are mothering. When we make the choices, big and small, that will benefit those who outlive us, we are mothering. On this day, may we remember that this is work that belongs to all of us. I invite you to join me now in a time of meditation. Wherever you are sitting, as you join in this virtual service, start to notice your breath. Is your breathing shallow, or have you perhaps just not taken the time in quite a while to check in and marvel at the miracle of your lungs and what they can do with the oxygen you're breathing in. Relax your shoulders and feel your feet on the floor. Here is a poem by Claire Bateman called Childhood of a Stranger. You too once were carried in your sleep. You to someone a warm weight of breath and cloth. Wisps of sleep like slow steam off your seamless face. Day distilling into dreams in a skull yet soft. Now we are encrusted with barbed years, flinty, adamantine, ready to repel all assaults against our independence. But for that hint of honey, trace of down, that secret nerve that never has grown numb, there is a debt between us, even now, that our autonomy cannot remove. A bent towards something more than tolerance, older than kindness, oddly akin to love. Blessed be. Amen. Welcome again to our service. If you are joining us for the first time, or maybe you've only been with us a handful of times, we hope that you'll explore our website, maybe subscribe to our weekly e-newsletter Currents to learn a little bit more about what we're offering, especially right now in this time of physical distancing. If you have additional questions after you explore a little bit, you can contact our membership coordinator, Kelly Green. Her email is kelly@uuccharlotte.org. And we so hope that when we're finally back in our sanctuary, you will pay us a visit and we can greet you in person and take you to Freeman Hall for coffee and further conversation to get to know you. Following this service, it's not quite as good as our fair trade coffee in Freeman Hall and that lovely buzz of conversation that always gets going in there, but you are invited following this service to join us for a virtual coffee hour. You can sign in through the link in this week's Currents. I will be there along with membership coordinator Kelly Green to greet you all and facilitate some smaller group conversations. We hope this is one more way for you all to connect. To each of you, our entire staff always wants to know how you are doing, what's going on in your life, any significant joys and sorrows that you are navigating. We would really like to know. We love staying connected with you in whatever way we can. So please don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us with your needs. This morning, we are sending love and holding in our prayers David Reynolds and his family as his grandmother recently received a serious diagnosis. Also want to thank all of you for supporting our UUCC Cares Fund. As you may have seen in currents, a number of you have contributed a portion of your stimulus check to a fund so that we can take care of our members in need. And if you are experiencing significant financial difficulties due to this quarantine and COVID-19, we invite you to read the story in Currents to learn more about how to contact us for financial support. We also continue to appreciate your generosity as your pledges continue to come in each month. You can click the Donate Now button near this live streaming video. You can send a check through the mail. And again, thank you so much for your support. Here again, as we close our time together, these are the words of Claire Bateman. There is a debt between us, even now, that our autonomy cannot remove. A bent toward something more than tolerance, older than kindness, oddly akin to love. May you be well. May you find moments of peace in this week ahead. Remember that you are not alone, and we pray that you always feel held by this community. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you soon.